What do we really know about the Baalbek stones? If you don't know about them, they're located in modern-day Lebanon. They're considered to be some of the largest megalithic stones ever moved by human hands. And honestly, the deeper you look into this place, the stranger it gets. One of the things that interests me the most personally would be, how did they shift these? Because what we know today might not actually be the full story, because nearby, hidden beneath layers of dirt and time, archaeologists have recently discovered a quarry that might potentially hold bigger stones than what we currently know. And from what we do know today, some of the stones that were actually at the main quarry have not even been moved. It's almost as if something happened and work stopped overnight. Like when you delve into it further and you kind of see the base that was being built, obviously the Romans came in and started building on top of these foundations, but it looks like whoever was there prior might have had a king with a huge ego. Maybe he wanted the world's biggest temple, and so he ordered a bunch of these gigantic blocks to be cut, and then maybe he suddenly died or passed away, and so the work stopped because the workers thought, this is just absolutely crazy, we're not going to continue this. In other scenarios, the civilization itself could have collapsed, war could have broken out, we really just don't know. It kind of reminds me similar to the Library of Alexandria that had all the scrolls and ancient knowledge, and once that burnt down, it just disappeared. It's as if this knowledge of this place and how they cut the stones and machined them just vanished overnight. If you've been to the Baalbek stones, you're not just looking at ancient history or the Roman history, you're looking at layers of history that don't quite match up. So if you take the bottom Baalbek stones that are like 1600 tons and you go 2 levels above where the Romans started building, you can see a completely different design and construction. And to me it just seems so much older than what we're told. The site itself, which it's famous for, is the Temple of Jupiter, which the Romans built roughly 2,000 years ago. The Romans at the site built giant stone columns that look like stone trees going into the sky. It's absolutely impressive. The mysteries don't stop there. Some of these pillars are made out of rose granite, which come from Egypt over 800 kilometers away. And the difference between them and the Roman pillars are so unique and vast. For example, we know the Roman pillars and columns are built into sections that were layered on top of each other that were used by cranes. They have the hole in the top that they'd put the metal clamp in that would spread out so they could lift them. Whereas the rose granite pillars are completely different. They're an entire piece. It just doesn't make sense. We know already that the Romans were engineering masters and the pillars they created were magnificent, but the bases of the pillars at the Temple of Jupiter are made out of rose granite. The thing that's so mysterious is these are smooth, the angles are cut near perfection, that they just feel raw, ancient, and out of place. It's almost as if the Romans inherited the structure that already existed predating them and just built on top of it. And I know that theory goes for the Egyptian pyramids as well, and the pyramids of Kush. And it gets even deeper because inside the structure are 3 incredibly massive blocks called the trilithon stones. Each stone weighs around 800 tons. To put that into perspective, a fully loaded Boeing 747 weighs less than that. Now imagine moving 3 of these uphill with what they said was primitive tools at the time. No engines, no steel cranes, no hydraulics. And yes, some could say that they might have moved them via boat, down the river or streams. They could have used levitating technology that we don't know about. But as it stands today, it was ropes, wood, manpower, current engineering that we know today. But here it gets even more unbelievable because in a quarry nearby, there's a stone that sits there called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. This is even larger. Its estimated weight is to be around 1,000 tons. It's incomprehensible. It doesn't stop there. The deeper you go into the quarry, scientists and archaeologists have actually uncovered larger stones, some weighing over 1,600 tons. They're said to be some of, or potentially, the largest man-made structures of weight in the world. And this is where the entire thing starts to get a lot more mysterious, because these stones we know are not natural boulders. They were cut deliberately. Some of the edges, when you look at them, are so straight. Even the ones that are chamfered is near machine perfect. The surfaces contain grooves and markings that almost resemble machine cuts today that we use. And when people walk through the quarry today, they typically say it looks as though it was mid-abandoned, as if the project was going and then all of a sudden stopped. It's as if one day the workers got up, headed to work, got to site, and all of a sudden just put the tools down and never returned. No final cleanup, no completion, just massive stones left on the ground. It does raise a question though, why would they just stop? Did the ruler who was potentially funding the project suddenly die? Or did the empire collapse? The theories suggest there might have been a cataclysmic event that stopped the production entirely, or was the task simply just too big to continue with? And the bizarre thing is, nobody truly knows to this day. There are no recorded scripts from the Romans as to how they were built or why they were there, which leads into the question of whether they built them or not. And what makes Baalbek even more fascinating is the fact that even scientists to today and engineers say to do this type of feat would require immense cranes and machinery that we only have a few of. It's super rare to have a crane today lift over 1,600 tons. People often say, well, humans did build ancient structures and pyramids all over the world, and while that is true, they never had immense stones the size of Baalbek, so this site exists in a category of its own. The pyramids of Giza had huge blocks set inside the temples, but nothing of this magnitude. For example, most of our cranes today carry under 1,000 ton objects, and that's under controlled environments. Yet somehow ancient cultures quarried them, carved them, transported them, and placed them with incredible precision. And what's even crazier is that some of the joinery between the stones are so tight you can't even put a piece of paper inside them. And from a distance, some say the rocks appear fused together. So how do you get that level of geometry and intricacy when they didn't have the tools that we have today? When we look at conventional timelines, they say that they had bronze and copper tools. Yet, when recreated today, we still can't cut the blocks with those tools, and some of the markings on these stones have machine lines. Some of the stones have parallel grooves, smooth flattened surfaces, and clean internal corners. These are the kind of patterns people associate with advanced stone cutting. To be clear, there is no confirmed evidence of ancient machinery or lost advanced civilizations with tools like we have today. But the mystery exists because the scale and the sheer size of it feels out of sync for the time that they were made in. That's why the Baalbek stone site has become one of the most debated sites in archaeological history on Earth. I always like to say, it goes back to that theory that if we disappeared today, 2,000 years from now, the only thing that would be left of our existence is stone. Like, who are we truly to say they didn't have other technology that we don't know about today because it's all eroded and disintegrated over time? Some researchers out there even state that the Romans actually did construct these with immense manpower, whereas others like to try and debunk that, considering there are no valid notes from the Romans on the massive megalithic stones at Baalbek. So in that description alone, you can kind of assume that the Romans just actually found these or came across them and started building on top of them. And when you look closely at these stones, you can definitely see why people are so conflicted in this, because the Roman architecture looks so significantly different to the below foundation. Roman architecture and stones that were cut are more decorative, more refined. The stones at the foundation look older. It has a darker color to it than the brighter Roman stones above. Like, to me, it's as if two civilizations touched the same area in completely different timelines, and one finished the project one initially started. But maybe that's the real mystery of Baalbek. Maybe we're just never meant to know. And maybe human history is far more complicated than what we actually know about ourselves today. Because if we look at materials, stone stands the test of time. Wood rots, metal rusts, and paper burns. And as for the people of Baalbek, well, they're gone. Their language has disappeared, their tools have vanished, and their rulers just seem to have vanished as well. Yet, their craftsmanship remains. And maybe that's why these ancient sites are so fascinating to us modern humans, is because it makes us think and question whether what we know or what we've pieced together is truly the whole story. And the fact that beneath Roman ruins, beneath collapsed temples, and beneath soil and dirt, there could be something much larger waiting for us to find it. An entirely new story waiting to be uncovered. But until then, the Baalbek stones remain one of the greatest engineering mysteries ever left behind. So leave your thoughts down below. What do you think really happened here? Did they just up and leave one day? Did their leader pass away and the engineering and the project stopped? Or was something much larger happening on a grand scale that leads us to a huge missing piece of the story? And as always, if you enjoyed this episode of Lost in Time, don't forget to chuck us a like and subscribe for more. Cheers.